Hello YouTube. Today we're going to talk about the alleged voodoo doll. That's the term we call them today in America, in the Western world. Some people call them poppets, whatsoever, you know. I mean, for me, I work in all aspects of magic, whatsoever, you know. So I think for me to talk about this doll's situation here, I will definitely speak on a balanced level instead of just making it one aspect lean towards the dark side and stuff. I'll talk about it in a good way, whatsoever, you know. Now, let's just start off with the right hand of it, or the good hand. You know, well, voodoo dolls or alleged or poppets, whatever, alleged voodoo dolls, poppets, whatsoever, doll magic, whatever you want to call them, doll babies. Basically, they serve a purpose. Their purpose can be served for good and bad, you know. And I always tell people, what happens to these dolls happens to the person itself, you know. And not always in a Hollywood sense itself. So let's talk on a good level. Dolls can be used. These dolls can be used for money magic. They can be used for healing. You know what I'm saying? They can be used for positivity, protection, and stuff like that. You know, the thing is, when you're talking about it, do you like? Well, here it goes. It's a energy. See, when you're talking about doll magic, it's an energy that manifests, or that's like you can say that manifests through events and situations itself, you know, like it's circumstances, events, whatsoever, you know. So let's just say this. It's like you basically, let's just say you have the doll, you do whatever you need to do it for healing and stuff like that. Now, you may see the person who the doll was meant for without them even knowing. See, let me get this correct. In real magic, there's no such thing as telling the person or the person has to believe. You know, that is some Western bullshit that people who don't understand, that came about with watching Hollywood movies, came up with, that you gotta believe in order for this shit to fucking work. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't work like that, you know? And you know what? It doesn't work like that. Let me just put it like that. I'm not gonna go into detail. Let's just leave it like that. Now, the thing about it is that when you're working with a doll, it's like a reflection. What happens to the doll happens to the person. So therefore, if you're talking about love magic whatsoever, you know, love magic, what you may find is that, you know, dolls come together. Of course, the dolls have to be prepared. You're not just going to take any random doll and do what you want and all of a sudden it's going to happen. There's a specific way that you prepare the dolls. But unfortunately, since this is just for educational purposes, I'm not here to reveal how it's done. I'm just here to reveal information with you about dolls itself, you know. So don't expect for me to go into detail of how to do this whatsoever, you know. So anyway, so let's just say you do your love magic for two people with dolls itself, and I gotta explain to you, you gotta have the colors right, because every doll, every color of the doll means something, you know. Every color, everything that you use on a doll means something. So when you're putting this stuff together, everything has to work. Like everything has to basically send out the right message to the universe. Because in order for this thing to manifest, the universe has to interpret your language. When you're putting the doll together, that's a language. Because you're talking about higher forces viewing the content of what you're doing and basically taking it as a command and going out to make it happen. You know? So it is a lot of things that I find backwards when people are talking about dolls and stuff like that. For me, I say it's like this. When you work with the doll by itself, without preparing it, what you do to the doll happens to you. So therefore, it's like this. Whatever you do to it, whether it's good or bad, happens to you. But when you prepare it for someone, the doll is going out after the person. It's basically you're making a connection to someone. Let me explain something. When I say doll, for carnal-minded people, that's on a low level of thinking. They'll think that when I say the dolls, they're thinking that the doll is going to walk up and basically cause things to happen. No. It doesn't work like that. Like I said in the previous video about having your eyes trained, everything is conjured up. Everything is visual in the universe. So what you're seeing is like something that you're causing to manifest a certain situation. So therefore, it's all visual. Yes, it happens in material, in a material world, but it's all visual, because it's something that you do this to a doll, all of a sudden you turn around and look, days later, this is what manifests exactly the same way you actually had the doll. Now I'm gonna give you an example. I remember, let's just say the person wanted to make someone into a better person whatsoever, you know. So I guess they did whatever they did to the doll with whatever product they used. All of a sudden the person started talking about they want to go back to church, you know. Now in a negative sense, I remember another person told me about a doll that they used, and basically it was for negative work. They put the doll over the fire. Weeks later, the ladies working at like the ladies, of course, the doll was prepared. Let me just express that. This is not no, you know, you try to do the doll without the doll, like try to do the doll like that without being prepared, it's gonna happen to you. So anyhow, let me just get to the story. So anyhow, the lady was working at the stove. Come to find out, he heard, like, you know, that's what they told him. The customer told him, because he's doing work for a customer. She told him that the lady that the doll was meant for was working at her job one day on a stove whatsoever, and she is cooking some hot food. The shit rolls over, falls on her foot, and her legs gets burnt up. You know, so I mean, this is the enigma about the universe. When you're talking about doll magic, you're talking about magic in general. It is basically a way of tweaking laws in the universe that pretty much people have not basically understood or got a understanding of, you know, whatsoever, you know. So these are laws. There's many laws in the universe. We're living in a universe that may be infinite. So to talk about how much laws that's in this universe that people have not, that, you know, that are people just finding out, come on, man, there's laws that are just beyond, like, I mean, that has not even been found yet, you know. So to me, this to me is like this is like a law that people within each traditions of voodoo whatsoever have basically found, and they have been able to use for their own purpose whatsoever, whether it's good or bad whatsoever. Now, when I talk about the doll itself, you know, the doll is like, I mean, there's many people that try to say the doll is a person. I don't really get with that. I don't really have that view, you know, because when I first started out with working with dolls, I started out with the Inkundi. You know, the Inkundi is a Congo thing whatsoever. Inkundi, Inkisi. You know, we know of the Inkundi as a doll with like a wooden statue with a lot of spikes. Now, when you know how to use that, that's how I branched into working with dolls, voodoo dolls whatsoever, quote unquote voodoo dolls itself, with puppets, whatever, doll babies. That's how I learned how to work with them, because I started out with that. With those, there's a specific way that you have to work with them. Yes, they got a bunch of nails in them, but all those nails serve a purpose. So when you understand how to work with the Inkundi, you can pretty much transfer their knowledge in that into working with dolls, whether they're candle image dolls whatsoever, you know. So yeah, so that's pretty much my take on the doll magic whatsoever. But again, I want to say things to people is that if you're gonna work with dolls, you got to make sure you prepare them right, and you got to make sure your colors, and even if you're using pins, you know, pins themselves mean a lot. You know, every color of a pin has a meaning, and they have to be matched up with the correct color doll. So when you're talking about dolls, oh, this doesn't work, this is blah, 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 it's because likelihood you have not basically got the correspondence together. You probably matched up a bunch of colors, or you didn't even prepare the doll correctly, and that's why you're not seeing anything. For me, I say this, when you're doing work like this, you have to become a stalker. You have to stalk your prey. When I'm not saying that, you know, whatever means you got to do without getting caught, that's how you know if it works or not, you know. Or if you're working with the person that you intended the doll for on a malevolent level, I guess you'll hear that work. But there's certain ways you, like if you're trying to find out, or if you're experimenting, you got to have a window for you to find out if your shit works. So, I mean, whatever means that is, because it's like this. If you're looking for, like I said on the video, your eyes have to be trained. If you're looking for something that's obvious and direct, most of the time, it's not going to be like that. Sometimes it may be the smallest thing that passed by your eyes that you may not even pay attention to. It's until you stop. And again, before I even go on, each doll does something in a positive and in a negative. Everybody assigns the black doll of being evil and negative. All dolls can do evil. A white doll can make someone absent-minded, if you know how to use it. A red doll can go from making a person have good loving feelings to hateful, broken-hearted feelings. So, to get to the stereotype is that the black doll is the only doll that can be used for evil magic. No, that's just one doll that can be used for, you know, one form of evil magic. All dolls can be used for a form of magic, like negative magic whatsoever, you know. So with that said, I conclude this video. Hopefully this video was very informative. Thank you guys for watching, and I am out. Like and subscribe.